fighting out of Toronto, Canada. He is the bodybuilding champion of the world, presenting James Hurricane Hergott.
James Hergott here with the Hergott Show, and I am joined by Ashley Kurtenbach, and is that husband Jesse Kurtenbach? I'm assuming it's husband, right?
Yes.
Hi guys. You guys have been together for how long now?
Married for 5.5 and together for almost 9.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on being together this long. That is an accomplishment in today's day and age. And a few reasons that I wanted to have Ashley and Jesse on is Ashley is a bikini champion. She's competed at a national level, and we filmed her on Radical Body Transformations. And I think, how many girls were in your class, Ashley?
Oh, at that show,
You beat a bunch of girls. It was like 12 girls or something crazy.
yeah, I don't even remember for sure how many girls were in that class.
Yeah, so just to illustrate how it works, like at a competition, there's your class, so like you go by height, and she beat out like a whole bunch of girls and took first, and then she was in the overall, so they have all the different height categories, and then Ashley won the overall in that, and we were there for that, and I'll link that video below as well. So, but it was a great experience, because when you go to film something, you have no idea how anybody's going to do. Like, we followed certain people, and it could have gone, whatever way, and through the magic of everything, it just happened that you won the whole thing, and we got to get the whole experience, and getting you being emotional and all of that, and being thankful to all your supporters. So thanks for coming on the show, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And Ashley's been a big supporter of mine. She said that I should do this type of thing for a long time. So I think that thank you for your belief in me and my supposed abilities to do this. So I appreciate that.
For sure. Hey, dude, you're good at it. So, like, why not keep rocking at it?
Well, definitely appreciate it. And we're both wearing tainted gear. So shout out to Wade. And I specifically wore tainted to match Ashley and to support Wade and his burgeoning business. So I've got a few questions for you guys. First, like, what have you been up to, Ashley, since that competition? Obviously we filmed you up to that point, but I know you went out and did nationals and stuff since then. So first, maybe walk me through like kind of the competitive aspect and what you've been up to that way.
Right. Okay, so that was in March of 2015, or the end of March, beginning of April. And I decided not to go into nationals right away that year. I kind of wanted to take some time off, really focus. And sometimes that's a good strategy, and sometimes it's not. It just depends on who you are, what you decide with your coach, and time frame, and also what else you have going on. But in 2015, so after I won the overall at the Upper Midwest in Fargo, I decided to run a half marathon, which I have not ever even done a 5K. So I wanted to see if I could do it, and I did it like no problem. And then we also competed it's called Train to Hunt. So it's archery and physical ability tests that summer. And so we had done that because I want to do that. So it's really hard. If you want to be really good at something, it's hard to train for multiple things. But I wanted to see how many things I could do in one summer within just a few months of each other, just to see how the training affects diet and all that stuff. So we did that because I ended up taking third at the Train to Hunt in the open women's. And
that she qualified for nationals.
Yeah, I qualified for nationals, but couldn't go. So then after that, then fall hit, and we ended up going to we went to Alaska for like 14 days, and so that kind of took a 17 days. Hey, whatever, it was a long time in the woods, man. And so then when we got back from that, I really started hitting, you know, like the really focused type training, and said, okay, I'm qualified for nationals 2016. I'm going to pick a show and really focus on bringing in my best. So I worked for that next 9 months. You know, I mean, I constantly was in the gym lifting, eating clean, but like, you know what I mean? You really tune in on being really very specific. And then within the last about 10 to 12 weeks, Brandon and I really picked apart every single detail going into nationals to bring my best. And I did. I mean, I brought the best package I ever had to the July show in Vegas. So
that's incredible. And just to mention the Brandon we're talking about, in case people haven't seen the episode you were in, we're talking about Brandon Folken, and he's since turned pro since we started, since we filmed him. So he himself has turned pro, and shout out to him and his wife. They just had a baby, so yeah. That's pretty cool. So you've been with Brandon. He really helped you kind of tweak it, and so you're really happy with the package that you brought on stage. And I guess you placed outside the top 5, I'm sure, but for people that may not understand, like, to do, you know, anything on that level is very difficult, and it comes down to judging decisions as well. Is that
and all what they're looking for that day? You never know. It's hit or miss. So I think I ended up in the top 15. I think it was 11th at nationals. I can't remember. I've done so many, but I mean, I did really well, and I came in the way I wanted to. So you can't be disappointed at all with those types of results. When you've made a personal improvement and you come the way you envisioned you would come in your best, and you meet that standard, that's a win for me. So
absolutely. And so have you ever thought about doing, I think Brandon won or came, it was either first or second at North Americans in his category, and I think that's how he got his pro card. Have you ever thought about doing that show?
I have thought about doing that. It just depends on the time frame, on how everything lays out, because I kind of look at my personal life as well and see what we have going on, you know, to keep that healthy balance of everything.
Yeah. You know, and of course, like, getting your pro card isn't everything, and you know, certainly for me, that's not my thing so much. I mean, I wouldn't turn it down, but the crazy thing is, like, I know a lot of people, like, let's say from in Canada here, and they might have done 3-4 nationals, and they don't get their pro card, and then they go out and they'll do like North America, so they'll do like a different one, and then they'll finally get their pro card. So sometimes it depends on which show you choose, just that, you know, what judges are there, and sometimes it's just a matter of grinding and keep trying, if you have the desire to put that much time in it, of course.
Right. Yep. It is a lot of time and focus. You don't want to lose your focus either, otherwise you're just going to waste, you know, a chance at nationals. So I really try to figure out where I can give. I want to give 150% in everything. So I make sure that whatever show I choose, that it's lining up with everything else I got going on. So we like to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I see that. And did you say you qualified for nationals and something else as well?
Yeah, in the train to hunt. So that's a newer.
It's like CrossFit on steroids for hunters.
Yeah, it is.
So tell me about that.
Super physical. Like, the guys put 150 pounds on their back, and did you have 80? I think.
No, I had 50 pounds at regional. So where we did. So part of it, it's broken into like 3 different sections, and 2 of them. So one is just straight shooting, no rangefinder with your bow, no rangefinder. You do a 3D target, keep score, turn that in. Later that day, you do what they call a meat pack, and you have a frame like a hiking backpack, and they load 50 pounds. For the open women, it's 50 pounds on your back of just dead weight, and you basically run/sprint until borderline puking until you hit the finish line. And so then you get points based on time and where you fall in there. And then the next day is shooting and physical ability. So they set up this whole course that's a couple miles long.
2.5 miles.
Yeah, 2.5 miles long. It's different every year, but then you have to go through and shoot, and it's all about controlling your breathing, because if you miss the target, they add time to your total time at the end. Anyway, this is the hardest physical thing I think I've ever done in 2 days. It was crazy, but it was fun.
And like, so you do all these things, and like, obviously, look, there's lots of people who they'll be happy to like sit on the couch and like just kind of like Groundhog Day, do the same thing day in and day out. What is your motivation to try all these different things, and I don't know, to compete and to I don't know, push yourself in all these different directions?
I think honestly for both of us, like at night, we're probably not the typical couple. I mean, there's a lot of fit couples out there, but like we sit here and talk, like break down nutrition. We're like, have you seen this new article? Like there's this new kind of training, and we'll talk about it and break it down. And then he's in the medical field, so he understands everything that way. And then we go through all kinds of stuff and we talk about it. And I just love, ever since I started training to compete, I've always been like, I like to compete. Like, I don't really care what it is. I just want to try it, you know? But I love the human body and the fact what you can do with it. Like, push it to its absolute limits. Like, what is your limits where you're going 100% mental and your body is checked out? You know what I mean? Like, I love getting to that point, like pushing yourself that hard to where it's 100% mental and then it's like 0% physical at some point. So we like to do that type of stuff. And Jesse likes to do different things too. And when we're out in the woods, we do the same thing. Like, let's see what we can do. Let's go train outside and see how hard we can push ourselves physically.
Do you think like that's like one of the keys to your relationship? Like obviously you guys have been able to maintain a relationship and a marriage for a significant period of time. Is like the similar interest a big part of that, or what, you know, what's kind of the ingredients that goes into you guys maintaining this relationship?
I mean, I think for us, yeah, we do compete against each other too. I think like,
definitely.
Yeah, we definitely compete against each other. We like to push each other hard. Like, who's going to be better at what? I mean, it's a friendly competition. And everybody says you marry your best friend, but we're like hunting buddies, and we're workout buddies. Like, we do a ton of stuff together. And it's one of those things, like, we definitely like to do our own things as well, but we do a lot together. And I do think that's what makes our relationship different. I mean, we're together all the time. I mean,
I think we spend maybe like an hour of our own time during the day when we're not at work, or like when I get home, because she works from home. Like, sometimes I leave and do something on my own, but most of the time it's just, I can't wait for her to get done with work so we can go do something together.
Yeah.
But we just spend all our time together. And once in a while we have to have our timeout time where you go do something on your own today, but not very often.
Right, yeah. So we do spend just a lot of time. It's one of those things too, when you're more open and willing to learn how to do new stuff, like, I don't know, if there's something outdoors you want to learn how to do and one of us knows how to do it, we're both pretty open to being like, hey, I'll try it. And that's what we do. Then that's why we have so many hobbies.
Well, that, you know, I've often had a theory, like, that's kind of like the relationship I've wanted. And I've heard other people say the opposite, where they say like, oh, the key to a relationship is that like you live your own separate lives and like you don't see each other too much. And that always seemed like maybe you could have a relationship that's like not a true communication relationship, that's kind of like surface level. So I think it's easy for people to have like a surface level relationship where they don't actually have to get to know each other. And I've actually heard of relationships where, like, let's say people have kids and they're involved in all these things and don't really see each other that much. And then when the kids leave and they have to like be around each other 24/7, that's when it breaks down. And it always seemed like completely illogical to me to have a relationship where you're not like enjoying each other's company. And I mean, even if you have kids, eventually the kids, you know, go away to school and stuff like that, and you're left with each other. So I think that, you know, that's important. Is there any other like advice that you guys have in terms of relationships and what makes you guys work?
I mean, I think communicating too, like he said, we definitely need our own time at times. Like I still like to do I do a lot of tomboy type things, but I do a lot of girly things too. I'm not expecting Jesse to do all that stuff with me. So there's times where I do need my girl time and I want to hang out with my girlfriends, and you know, it's just really expressing that like, hey, it's not that I don't love doing everything that you want to do, but I kind of feel like doing this too, you know. So I think obviously communication's huge, but knowing when to take your time apart and do separate things, because you are your own individual people at the same time, and allowing each other to be your own individual self. Like Jesse probably thinks I'm crazy. I'm really different. I'm a big free-spirited person. So he's accepted like, hey, my wife isn't normal. This is fine. It's okay.
I think compromise is super important, because if I had my way, we would just go hunting on all our vacation time. But like that's over the top,
right?
You know, that's just too much sometimes. So like I know she wants to go to an island and enjoy the sun and get away from this weather sometimes, so we do that.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely do a good compromise of things. And when we go on vacation too, like if we're traveling, we definitely split it between doing relaxing normal stuff, like go out to eat like normal people do, but we also like to like do crazy stuff that, you know, adrenaline junkie type stuff. So we mix it up.
How did you guys like meet each other? Because it seems like, you know, there are a lot of similarities, and it seems like it's not like that neither of you are like the typical type of people. So like to find each other is like, you know, finding two rare people, you know, type thing. So how'd you guys pull that off?
Well, we were in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I was going to be moving there, and he was already living there, and they have this big barbecue fest every year, like in the town, right, where they have all these bands come, and it's like a big barbecue competition. Well, I had been golfing in a tournament all day in Iowa, and I came up at night because I wanted to have a couple of beers and watch this band. And back then, they had a line for the bathroom that was literally like 45 minutes long because it was an eternity.
It's 2 bathrooms for the whole place, pretty much.
Yeah, it was just like the long, and you couldn't take any drinks in, nothing like that. And we ended up talking and getting to know each other, like standing.
We were like in line, waiting for the bathroom, talking to each other.
Because there's nothing to do. You're 45 minutes. Like, there's nothing to do. And like this, I mean, that was 8-9 years ago. So like, yeah, you had text messaging on your phone, but it's not like it is today where you're on like strolling through social media.
I think I offered to buy a beer maybe.
Yeah, like one of those two, like when we're done, hey, and then it kind of just, we like hung out all night. And then we did have some mutual contacts too. We figured out some, because he played a lot of baseball. And so he knew some people that I knew. And then honestly, we ended up talking like all night, and then it was like the next day, and then pretty soon like we were just, I don't know, inseparable pretty much. Just started dating. It's the most random story ever. Like it's crazy.
We just got along really well from the get-go, so I think that was the biggest part.
Yeah, and we figured out we had a lot in common that night, like a lot more, and just kept good conversation, really, you know, so.
That's a beautiful thing, and I found that in my own life. Like, I find that, like, when I've gone on dates with people, it's like you either hit it off with them right away or you don't. Like, it seems to me like you can't really force it, like, you know.
Right, and I think you know almost instantly. Like, after that first night, I was like, I really like this guy. Like, this is going to be a relationship. And I think he felt the same as well.
Yeah, like we didn't know anything about each other's families or anything. We just had met each other and liked each other. So we figured the rest would fall in line if it was going to work. So, and it did. So,
yeah.
Well, I certainly believe in chemistry, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it's something you instantaneously know, and maybe it's even like our subconscious minds like can pick up on stuff, and we put the pieces together. But any long-term relationship I've had, like I hit it off like pretty much right away. I never had one of these situations where like I was like friends for a long time and then it turned into something. I mean, because either it's there, or it's not, in my experience. So one cool.
I don't know. I don't think that works. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, go on.
I was gonna say, I think just being friends with people for a long time, sometimes that works, but that is never. I have a lot of guy friends, and I could not imagine dating any of them. Like, that'd be so weird to me. Just because, like, you know each other on just that level for so long. But I don't know. Maybe some people, I have friends that ended up getting married that were friends in the first place. So who knows?
I don't know, because the reality is, like, I would think. This is just my like speculation that if something was going to happen, it would have happened sooner.
Me too.
Because like I like if I was attracted to somebody, I'm not going to wait like 5 years to express it, and vice versa. Like,
yeah, I know. That's what I think too. But who knows?
Yeah,
everybody's a little different.
So you guys live in a pretty interesting place. I've yet to visit, but I know I want to come. And you guys live in Deadwood, which is a historic place. Tell me about Deadwood and living there.
It was. Well, right now, as I look out the window, we got a blizzard going. But no, it's awesome. We have really nice weather considering we get like over 200 inches of snow a year, but a lot of it melts. It'll snow, and then a couple days it'll be nice out and melt. And there's just a lot to do. All spring and summer, it's just tourists nonstop. So it keeps the businesses going, and then we get to enjoy those businesses in the winter or in the fall without a lot of people around. And they're very nice places to eat, and hotels and casinos, which we don't do a lot of, but.
Right. I came from a small town. Well, we both did. We both were born and raised in really small towns. But this is a town of like 1,300 people. And it's just like what you read. It's a Wild West town. Like, it's historical buildings. It's very just like your typical small mountain town that's not been overdeveloped, at least not yet. So it's the small town atmosphere that we like. But yet there's still so much recreation that we can enjoy in the area. So, and it's beautiful. Mild winters, while it is blizzarding, it is extremely mild winters out here. So we don't have that. We used to live on the east side of South Dakota, and that is like brutal cold.
Not as many trees to block the wind.
Yeah. Oh man, it's really cold.
We used to come out here a lot and vacation, at least
dating
3-4 weekends a year.
At least, yeah.
And then a job opened up out here, and I was like, why wouldn't we want to live where we like to vacation? So that's basically what it turned into. So.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it's snowing here in Canada, so we're not immune to it, but.
I think 80% of North America is going to be freezing today. That's what I heard. Something like that.
That figures. Well, I'm okay with it. We had a beautiful summer. I'm sure you guys did too. So I'm cool with it. And like one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, Ashley, that I just think is wicked is that within the bodybuilding community, there's the different divisions, and of course your bikini division, which is typically like the most prissy sort of the divisions, and you're anything but. Like you're like not only like sort of a tomboy, but you hunt, you carry, is it moose on your back? You go on these long trips. Like tell me like what you guys do in terms of like hunting and kind of like the difficult aspect of that, and sort of like what's a typical hunt for you if you go on a massive trip and do the whole thing?
Our big trips, we set a date and we try and hit it when like the animals are rutting, and so we
Which is mating for those that don't know what rutting is.
Yeah. When the males lose all brain activity pretty much. And so we go out and we hit it hard. We like to be in the woods, set up while it's still dark. So we go for up to 16 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like, we'll be out there all day if we have to. We pack our food, we pack our water. We've really gotten good on narrowing down our nutrition that we can pack that's efficient. Obviously we can't pack chicken and potatoes on our back. So it's really about figuring out what works for each one of us. And then I always think by day 5, your body is starting to feel it. Cause like the day packs, so our day packs we carry is everything essential we need to get through the day. So water, food, and all our equipment in case we need to, harvest an animal or weather, whatever, supplies if you get stuck out in the woods, whatever. So our typical day pack, like Jesse, what do you think yours weighs?
35 to 40 pounds.
Right. And mine's somewhere between 25 and 35 pounds. So constantly walking with that on your back too. That's why we need to train a certain way in the summer to prep us for fall, depending on what we do. Because if you add, 1.5 feet, 2 feet of snow to that, you're looking at, seriously killing your legs. Like, it's crazy. So when we're out there, we're 100% driven for success. Like, we go and go and go so that if we aren't successful, we come home and say, we gave it everything we had, but we enjoy it at the same time. While it sounds like you do put yourself into misery at times, we enjoy every minute. Like Alaska last year was beautiful, but by 10 days mentally, I've never been in that state of mind where I didn't know what was like. I can't even, like, out of body experience. Like, it was crazy. Like, your body is physically broken down. You're climbing these hills every day. You're just like wondering what you're doing here at some point. You get to the top and you have to just soak it all in. Like, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. But you do, like, you get worn down physically and mentally bad but we enjoy it a lot.
Well, just like for an example, one day in Alaska, so I don't remember the exact times, but you'd get up like 3.5 hours before the sun would come up and start cooking breakfast. And so you get out of your sleeping bag, which is warm. It's like 15 degrees out.
Yeah.
Basically get out, change in the cold. Somebody would go outside and start cooking breakfast in the cold. And then, like, you just eat as much as you could, like as much fat and protein, and you just ate as much as you could, like 4,000 or 5,000 calories for breakfast if you could. Just absolutely stuffed yourself because the rest of the day you might not have anything to eat other than what you pack in your pack. But so then, if after eating for an hour, then you'd leave 2.5 hours before the sun came up to hike to try to get to a point to hunt before the sun came up. So you're already 3.5 hours into your day and the sun's just coming up. Yeah. And then you'd spend all day out there just looking for animals, calling, walking around, stuff like that. And then usually you'd stay out there till dark, and then you'd hike back 2 hours to the tent after dark. And then, you got 6 or 7 hours at the most to sleep. And then you do the same thing at night again, eat as much as you possibly can because you just spent that whole day out there burning all these calories. And eat, I said 5,000 or 6,000 for breakfast, probably 2,500 for breakfast, 5,000 or 6,000 for the day, and eat all that. And I think I lost maybe 14 pounds or 15 pounds in the 17 days.
I think I lost to 8.
Eating absolutely whatever I wanted to, as much as I wanted. Because
as much as you could find in your pack or what you had allotted for. I did that so I didn't lose size, because you do eventually end up burning up muscle at some point, and you'll feel it when you hit that point. We have a lot of muscle on our frames. So when we do lose muscle, you can tell your body just starts to break down a little bit. So my goal on any of those trips is to not lose any muscle. Try not to, at least.
We eat like olive oil packets. And
yeah. We started eating straight butter.
Just drink it because it's easy. It's pretty lightweight and it's calorie full. So calorie dense. So you get a lot of bang for your buck with
peanut butter and organic butter. Yeah.
Well, it just goes to show how important it is to be like physically active. Like you have kids today who like are not that active. They're playing video games all day long, and there's like a huge obesity problem. And I mean, you guys are like a testament to how much you can get away with if you're active. And like if you think about us as human beings in our history, we would either be farming or hunting, or we would like constantly be moving all day long. And I'm sure that like our bodies aren't really equipped to be like sitting for hours a day every single day. And then you add all the, calories and stuff. So that sounds like, I mean, the eating sounds fun. I don't know about that. I don't know how this is a vacation, but I can see it being a challenge in that aspect. So how many miles, so to speak, do you guys travel, or do you have a way of like kind of estimating that?
You mean like in a day?
Yeah. Like how much walking are you guys doing in a day?
Gosh, that one day antelope hunting this year we did.
We've done a 20-mile day on the prairie before, but that's not in the mountains.
That's just rolling hills prairie, but mountains.
I'd say in the mountains we average 8 to 12 miles a day.
Yeah.
Hiking.
But a lot of that's probably through like difficult territory that goes up and down, and
that's as a crow flies. It measured just as a crow flies, so no up and down included, because the GPS doesn't count the up and down.
And in like places that are really thick foliage, like Alaska, I mean it'll wear on you. So like if you're not mentally with it, I can't even describe to you where I went mentally on that trip after almost 2 weeks. But towards the end, I was like, holy cow, I can't take this beating anymore.
Well, I'll admit, with the one night, I know what she's talking about, because I kind of got us in this tricky situation. We crossed this glacial stream to go up after this moose, and it was way up there, and I thought we could get there. And I'm not afraid to try to go after. Like if I see something on the next mountain, I'll go over there, try to get it if I think we can get there. So we get all the way up there, and of course it had moved in the time we'd gotten there. So we had to basically turn around, and it was dark, and we had to go through all these nasty just alder trees, which are just, you can't even walk through them. We had to cut our way through with saws, and we didn't know, we couldn't see more than like 30 feet in front of us with whatever our headlamps would show. And we got like cliffed out. So we got to the edge of this mountain, and it was so steep we couldn't go down. So we had to like find a way down, and we didn't get back to camp till really late. And then we got our boots wet crossing the stream, and wet. It gets dangerous sometimes. It was definitely something that we didn't try to do again on that trip. There's no doubt about that. And then you got wolves and bears out there that are out moving around during the night. So then you have to think about that the whole time. So.
That's the adrenaline part, though. Once you get through it, like in the moment, you're like, what are we doing? But once you're done, you're like when we went home, people were like, I can't believe you were out there for 2 weeks plus, but it's just, it's an accomplishment. It's right. So rewarding once you're done to be able to say you could do that.
And how often do you actually like catch something on the trips? Like
when we take long trips, we're usually pretty successful. So anytime we go, depending on where we go, in South Dakota, we know the area. So if we have 3 days straight, we can maybe be successful. But we also are very big, like we believe in conservation. So everything's not just about filling the tag. You know what I mean? Like we're not just going to take anything that we can get. We like to take the mature animals that have lived a full life, and it's time to go through the full circle, So we like to do, we like to find the mature animals. And I don't know if you consider Jesse's maybe more of a trophy hunter. than me, but I like to just take mature animals that have, lived their life for the most part.
A lot of it has to do with the time of year too, because early on, we're not quite as picky because we want to get the freezer full. But like once I got my elk harvested this year, then we both were we hunted for the experience as much as anything, and trying to find those super old, super smart animals that are the most challenging to bring home. So
yeah,
I mean, we could be probably pushing the 100% success. I mean, we have the opportunity 100% of the time. It's just whether or not you decide to harvest that animal or not. So,
and there's so many misconceptions. Like I remember when I was doing your episode, and I actually had somebody write on my wall like, "Oh, hunting is wrong," or this and that. And I mean, people are like very delusional in the sense that they don't understand that other animals kill each other. They don't understand that you can have, an overabundance of animals, and sometimes like hunting is needed for that. But also like the humanity of killing an animal and eating it compared to, processed food. I've got to imagine it's healthier, without all the hormones. I've got to imagine it's more ethical if you really want to go that route. I think that people that think that way, don't really understand, nature, so to speak. So, well, you guys live in a community that, is probably pretty hunter friendly, but have you ever, encountered any people that like have tried to, say something about hunting or that it's negative or anything like that? What's that?
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I've gotten plenty. I'm not going to sit here and argue with every person because, like I said, you're entitled to your own opinions, right? I live the life I do. I like organic meat that we harvest ourselves. Our ancestors did it for centuries. Like, that's just what we've done, before there wasn't grocery stores, right? And there's all different levels of what people think hunting is wrong, but also just keeping the numbers of animals in control is also extremely important. Like, you don't understand what happens when, the elk population gets too high, or the deer population gets too high, or diseases get spread, or whatever. And hunting conservation wise is all about that as well. Not only supplying meat and food for our families, but it helps on so many levels, keeping our ecosystem in balance, So, but yes, we've definitely encountered, I think every hunter has, like, if you're going to be vocal about it, every hunter has encountered some sort of pushback. And I understand, like, maybe you don't have full knowledge, but if you want to have a conversation with me, then that's fine. Like, I will have a conversation. But when people just straight come at me and throw ridiculous statements, I'm not even gonna deal with that, because it's so vulgar sometimes that it's like, I don't need to deal with it. You want to have a conversation, I will explain everything behind it. But yeah.
I always try to approach it. I don't try to force hunting onto people because it's not for everybody. Some people choose to pay somebody to kill their meat and bring their meat to their table. Well, that's fine. There's not enough animals for everyone to hunt anyways. I just want people to understand that what we're doing isn't wrong. Like, they don't have to do it themselves. But they should at least look at our side of it and understand that it's something that's been going on for years, and it's a necessity for the circle of life, basically.
And people assume we hate animals because we hunt. No, that's not it. We love animals. We do. We really do love animals. It's just about the balance of everything, and it's something we enjoy. We like to be out in the woods. We like the challenge. We like to do what our ancestors did years ago, like to provide for your families. Like, that whole thing we like about it. We like the challenge. And, that's why we do it. I mean, we enjoy everything about it. We like the meat, and it's healthy. It's super healthy. Like, I've done almost every prep. I have done every prep on venison. So,
when you're out in the woods or out hunting, 99% of the time you're just hiking around with your stuff, and 1% of the time you're taking care of an animal. And so basically you're doing what everybody else is doing when they're out hiking and stuff. It's just that you're carrying a weapon, and you have a kind of a goal at the end of what your hike is going to be. But we enjoy the experiences of being out there just as much as anything. We carry cameras with us a lot, and a lot of times we're sitting there, and also there'll be a bird that lands on the tree, and we're filming the bird. It kind of turns into like a Nat Geo.
That's for sure. Like, we've gotten to see, like, with the amount of hours and days and whatever, the amount of time we've spent in the woods, we've gotten to see stuff that nobody will see in person. Like, some of the most beautiful sunsets and sunrises. Like, we've seen, elk fight in the woods. We've seen, I mean, it's just crazy. We've seen coyotes stalk animals, that they're going to kill. And we're like sitting there watching it live. Like, it's crazy. The stuff we've seen and the lands that we've gotten to explore through hunting and just being outdoorsmen. Like, it's been awesome. So.
Right. And the reality is, like, the environment is both like beauty and, there's, certainly a, I don't want to say like violent side, but I mean, like there's a side of the environment and nature that is both life and is death. And I think a lot of people that I've talked to who are vegan or whatever they are, who have an issue with hunting, it's like, well, you try to talk to them about how like other animals kill each other, and it's like they don't even want to hear it. But like that's going on the entire time that we're just sitting here, is that animals are hunting each other, and that's just a reality of it. So like when people are environmentalists, so to speak, the environment isn't just teddy bears and like beautiful sunsets and stuff like that. It's that vibrance, and it is death, and it is predators, and it is this, and it is that. It's like the holistic thing. And I don't know if this is true, but I heard that agriculture kills like a ton of animals because of the cropping devices, and it just like as it's moving across getting wheat or corn, it kills a bunch of animals that are on the ground. And then you have all the things to get rid of bugs and stuff like that, the insect stuff, right? And then that gets into the water and kills fish and stuff like that. So the idea that you live in our society at all, and that you don't contribute to the death of it, like the idea that you can go through life and not kill animals, is kind of a crazy concept. Not to mention that left to their own devices, there's certain animals that will just reproduce to the point that they'll become a problem within the environment. And also maybe they could even make another species extinct because they can become so such high numbers, and then low numbers of whatever prey that they hunt. And there has to be kind of a equal balance, and hunters like yourselves kind of like are in many ways like true environmentalists, in that you're actually out there and participating in the whole experience.
Yeah, we don't waste. I mean, we take as much meat as we can off every animal, so we don't waste anything. But going back to like, I mean, if you're using products that are tested on animals, those animals are being brought in to have chemicals put on them. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's worse than us feeding our family. In a sense, I mean, like, so, or any products that are coming from animals, it's not any different. Like, like they're still using animals. We're taking an animal, using it 100%. It's lived a full life, and we're feeding our families off of it.
Yeah. And without hormones and whatever else is going on.
Yeah, like I know what's in that meat. Like, I don't know what's in the meat I always buy at the store. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's not pumped full of salt water, you know?
Yeah, no, 100% understand that. Now, in my fantasy, in my head, there's like bikini girls that come up to you and say things. Have you ever had that? Like, have any of the people that have ever had an issue been people that you've competed with or anything like that?
Bring up hunting while I'm competing. I have had a couple people be like, "Hey, you're the chick that hunts." And I was like, "Yeah, I am." But I mean, so that's the most I've had. I've never had anything negative, thankfully. Like back, you know what I mean? You know how much time you spend backstage.
Yeah.
Like I've never had anybody negative, but I also think people are a lot more cruel online because they're hiding behind a computer than they are to your face. When they get to meet you and they're like, "Oh, you're actually a really nice person." You know, it's like, well, yeah, I'm a good person just because I like to hunt, you know? So I think that changes people's perspective. Maybe if they were going to say something negative to me at like a show, I think maybe it's like, oh, that's not probably the first thing you come at someone with. So once they get to know you, they're like, oh, okay, never mind. You're a decent human. Right.
So you guys, is it primarily bow hunting that you guys do, or do you do a variety of styles?
I think it's 50-50.
My answer would be any and all. But
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a place that I can pursue an animal, I'll use whatever weapon just to get me to that place. Because we apply for tags all over the western U.S. So if you draw a tag there, you just use whatever weapon that tag happens to be for. But we kind of choose, like we apply in places we haven't been before because we'd like to just show up and go learn a new area and try to find animals and see the scenery. Like we went to Utah last year and I got lucky and ended up harvesting an antelope on like the second day. Well, we had a couple days between going from my hunt to her elk hunt. So we went to Moab and toured the national park. I'd never even been to Utah, but part of the reason I applied for that tag is because we wanted to go see Utah, and we got to. So.
And we get to experience the lands too. When we travel, we get to you're in the mountains. You get to know like the landscape. It's pretty awesome.
So where's like the most beautiful place that you guys have been so far?
Well, Alaska.
Yeah, definitely Alaska. I mean, if there's like people listening and you like, if you're not afraid to ride in a plane, a very small plane, if you can get to Alaska and get in one of those little planes that's the size of a car and fly around the mountains, that was the best part of the whole trip because of what you can see. Like the planes go so slow and they fly right over the rivers and you're up in the mountains flying around. Yeah. It was just awesome. They land you on this little landing strip in the middle of nowhere.
It's breathtaking.
It's just a gravel bar, basically. It was. Yeah.
Well, Alaska isn't as remote as what it used to be, probably. There is a lot of untouched land that it truly, I mean, you get away from it all. Like, to get away from any sort of, I mean, it was weird being out there for 2 weeks with no radio, no TV. You don't know the news. You don't know what's going on. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's really, like, renewing. It's wonderful.
It's nice to unplug from your phone and your computer
society.
And some of that sometimes.
But yeah, Alaska, I think for both of us. But everywhere else has been, I mean, every place has got its own unique beauty. Like Montana, eastern Montana, it's beautiful, but it's different than, you know, Utah in the steep mountains or Wyoming or, I mean, it's incredible. But Alaska is probably both of us, let's say.
Have you guys ever had any like close calls? Like I know you mentioned the one kind of day where it was really draining on you and all that sort of thing, but have you ever had any issues where you kind of felt like maybe we went too far or we're at risk of running out of something or something along those lines?
That night in Alaska, I've never been truly like really scared. But I got separated from the group, and because it was so thick, I couldn't see their headlamps. And I mean, like for that few minutes where you can't hear anything and you can't see anything, and you don't know if the noise in the bushes is a grizzly bear or a wolf pack. Like, I mean, that brief moment, I was seriously scared. And then when we had to cross that river in the dark, I was like, really, like, this is the stupidest thing we've ever put ourselves in.
I mean, if you take one wrong step, there's like thigh deep glacial river, and I mean the water's coming right off a glacier, and if you take one wrong step, you weren't coming out of that deal, because the water's 32 or 33 degrees, and you'd have been downstream in the dark. It would have been the end. But that, I mean, that's part of the whole deal. It makes you feel alive doing stuff like that. But we definitely could have had a rope or something tied to shore for us, and we just held hands and walked across the river. But we crossed a lake on that trip too in a little boat, and then she wasn't in the boat. It was me and another guy, and I remember turning around and looking at him, and I said, if we go in, this is the end of the road, because the waves got really high, and we were in this little boat, and the water was freezing cold, and we just took it as slow as we could, tried to be as safe as possible. But there was nobody coming to rescue you if you went in the lake. I mean, the nearest rescue people were probably 4 or 5 hours away.
I have a psychologist I'm interviewing tomorrow, and I've like watched a lot of his stuff to kind of prepare for that. And he's a professor, and I learned something interesting where he was saying that what we experience as frustration in our daily lives. So let's say, he used the example of like, let's say you're going to go make popcorn, okay? And like you have this idea in your head, you want popcorn, and you go down, or us like getting on Skype, and like, and you experience like difficulty, and you start to get like upset with the situation. And he said it's a manifestation of you have an expectation, and then you have these obstacles that are getting in your way, and that's what creates like kind of this anxiety and stuff. And he said that it's actually derived from our experience throughout time of where we have to hunt for our food, and we could in those situations run out of calories or run out of energy before we catch our prey. So in other words, like you see the moose on the other mountain that you're talking about, Jesse, and you're like, okay, I want to get that. And let's say that's like the only food that you have coming in. And then you're on your way out there and you're trying to find it, and it's becoming more and more difficult. There's a real like biological fear, because in those situations, the stakes are like, if we don't catch that animal in time and we run out of energy or calories or whatever, we could die. And apparently like a lot of that sort of brain wiring is taken over, and that's why we have like frustration over computer not working, or even like day-to-day tasks like that. So it's interesting, like when you hear your guys' example of like being out there and some of like the fears that you face, because that the stakes are legitimate, and I'm sure that I'm sure it's more than just frustration that you feel in those situations.
So much simpler when you say it that way.
Yeah.
You don't get to the animal you don't eat, then you don't live. It's just it's so much simpler then.
Right, and it's understandable that, as long as humans have been around and they've had to kind of like fight for their food, and apparently we're actually constantly kind of doing a calculation like that, like what's the amount of energy I'm spending on this versus the payoff, and is it worth it, and stuff like that, because those are the kinds of decisions that we would have to make on the fly in reality, and like I said, life or death situations, and it might be a case where you have to abandon that moose, and you're like, okay, well maybe we can find something else over there, and so you're definitely like very alive when you're doing these things, and in touch with kind of like I don't know, human in terms of the way that we've been hardwired, you know, for millions of years, so to speak.
Primal instincts. What's that?
Have you been surprised? Because I heard this from, I think it was a special forces guy, and he was telling me that we're capable of way more than you think, you know, but you don't really understand that until you're put in these situations. Have you guys experienced that where you're like, wow, like we're able to do a lot more than maybe somebody might expect in terms of, you know,
100%.
carrying on?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'm like, when you either train for something super physical, some sort of competition, or when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you get to a point where suddenly you switch from it's physical and mental to 100% mental. And that's when you can't even believe, like I said, out of body experience, you can't even believe your body is still operating. Like, it's crazy how it works, but like, you think you have no energy left or no fuel left to climb that next mountain or go to that next ridge, and all of a sudden you do it and you're there and you can't even believe, like, how did I just get from point A to point B? I mean, I think we've done that, and part of that Train to Hunt that we competed in as well prepped us for that, because it puts you in that position. You push yourself so hard in that competition. Like, I thought I was going to pass out on that meat pack. I was going so fast with that much weight, and I was breathing so hard. I could feel my eyesight was starting to go. Like, you know what I mean? I started losing color. I started losing, my balance was going off, and I got done, and I couldn't even believe that I physically got through that, because I thought I'd roll down that mountain. I thought I was going to collapse and be done. And when you push yourself to that level, I mean, it's crazy. And it's the same way in the mountain. When you got all that weight and you have to get the meat back to camp or to a different location, or you're on a time crunch for something. Like, when I harvested my moose, we were flying out in less than 24 hours. We had an entire moose to break down, like hundreds of pounds of meat. And you just, it's crazy. The whole scenario is crazy, because you're on an adrenaline rush, and yeah, you go mentally into another state.
If you could somehow harness what like I personally feel, and I'm sure most hunters feel, if you could bring that to the gym somehow for your everyday workout, you'd be unstoppable. Because like, when I'm up in the mountains,
Like, super
and I'll be just like walking at a normal pace, like not trying to get too sweated up or whatever, and all of a sudden there'll be an elk that bugles up at the top of the mountain, and I know it's up there. It's just like that, going to a different mindset, and then you're just, next thing you know, you're up there, and you know, whether they're there or not, still you turn around and look, and you're like, how did I get up here so fast? Like, yeah. You almost don't even think about it. You just do it.
True beast mode.
And
true beast mode.
If you could do that at the gym every day, because I know, like me personally, when I go work out, there's days where you're really focused, and there's days where you're really working hard, and there's some days where you're just going through the motions. But if you could just grab that every day and put your body to that max effort every day, it'd be unbelievable how much you could accomplish.
We call it redlining. When you hit the red line and you can still keep going before your body physically gives out, aka passing out or whatever. You're losing control of your body.
I believe it, because, you know, before I started competing, I would like just work out and go through the motions. I didn't realize that at the time. I thought I was pushing myself. But then when I set the goal of actually having a competition, and then I had that fear of like, oh, I'm going to be on stage and all these people are going to look at me and judge me, all of a sudden my workouts got way more intense. Like, I was, you know, way more specific about what I'm eating diet-wise. And I think it's hard to replicate that fear, you know. I mean, it would be the same thing if you were getting ready for a boxing fight and you were like, you know, there's gonna be a difference between you're like hitting a bag for fun and you have like somebody that's gonna be hitting you back, and you're like, you know, you have that kind of fear. So I'm sure that amount that we think we're pushing ourselves in the gym kind of pales in comparison to what we're really capable of. And Ashley, like that gets me into something else I wanted to ask you about. Like, you told me that like you took a lot of psychology with you on stage in terms of just like how you would move to like capture the judge's attention, how you would look at the judges and things like that. So obviously like going through all these things, there's a lot of like mental endurance that you have as a person and mental strength. You know, tell me how you apply that to your prep or on stage or anything to do with, you know, carrying over to the actual competitions.
Right. So I think pushing your body when we're in the mountains or whatever we're doing, pushing your body to the max, when you know how that feels and you know how to mentally control it and keep pushing, like that's the same mental level you need like when you are training hard or peak week, more or less. Like Jesse said, if you could take it every day, that'd be awesome. But obviously some of us we're going to have off days, right? Days that maybe we don't want to go to the gym or we're just going through the motions of reps. Just get me through this day. I don't want to be here. But being mentally tough going into that. And that's how you take all the negativity that can come with either competing or people that don't understand hunting, being mentally ready for that. And then when you go out on stage, like I've seen girls almost like throw up and pass out before going on stage because they're hyperventilating so bad. And that too, being able to control that, like being mentally tough like that, being mentally prepared where you've pushed yourself, you can just calm yourself down and walk out there, know that what you did got you here, know that it's enough, and go out there. And yeah, like I said, when I'm on stage mentally, I like to read people and the judges and like how I feel. And it gives me more confidence if I'm mentally strong out there, not just, you know, everybody physically looks good. You know, we show to those shows, everybody looks good. Everybody does. Everybody's in great shape. But you have to compose yourself, and a lot of that is mental.
Right, and I'm sure that, you know, as much as there is stage fright, being getting up on stage compared to like being afraid of like breaking through ice or something like that is a totally different level of fear.
Well, I think personally, like I've noticed with her, like when she's getting ready for these shows and we talk about some of the stuff that she goes through, and I've just noticed that it's, even though the show is the biggest thing going on at that moment in her life, it's never the biggest thing going on in her life, whether it's God, family, friends, me, whatever. The next day, all that other stuff is going to be there, even if she doesn't win the show. So it's not like, you know, some people take it to the level of if they don't win, like that's for like a week, they can't get over it. But she just, you know, she's got other things going on. And yeah, that show is the most important thing that day or that week or that 6 months of preparation. But there's just so many other things that she leans back on that I think she becomes less afraid on stage because it's not the end of the world, so to speak, for her if things don't go right during that show. And I never put pressure on her, you know, obviously these things cost a lot of money to go, and like I just tell her, do your best, and you know, that's what she loves to do. It's not about all the money and time spent. It's about enjoying that experience, and once it's over, it's on to the next thing, pretty much.
Right.
I think it's easier for her to be on stage and not have to.
Right. And that's mentally preparing for all that too. Like prepare to win, prepare to lose. Like knowing how you're going to handle it, you know, and what do you do? Like if you lose, so what? Like it should push you more mentally than sitting there and dwelling over. I mean, you can pick apart, you know, you can pick apart the details of that day. Like, was I holding too much water? Did I not pump up enough? What did the judges look? You know what I mean? You can sit there and drive yourself crazy over it. But just, you have to mentally know, like, I came in at my best. Like, my own personal best. And that's not what they were looking for.
I think I took nationals harder than she did last year.
Yeah. So I think you and Brandon both. I pretty much
had everybody that beat her, like pictures of them on my phone, and I was looking, and I'd like compare. I was just like, Can somebody explain this to me? Like, they all look the same. And I remember asking her too, and she's like, just wasn't my day or whatever. And I was, okay.
It's not your time. You just never know.
At the end of the day, it's opinions, and and it's opinions of like random people. Because I've had people that have competed, or I've followed people that have competed, and they've done like, let's say, a regional show, and they didn't place, and then they do another regional show and they place like 5 or something, and then they go to we have provincials here before we have nationals. So provincials within our province, we have the most populous province. So like let's say you're doing like men's physique, you can have like 23, 24 deep in terms of like just in your class. And I've had people that they didn't even place top 5, and then they went there and they placed like second. So, which is way harder competition, but it comes down to, it was like a different set of judges. So different 6 people or whatever the number was. So, and I've seen women break down in the bathroom. Well, I've seen, I haven't seen guys break down in the bathroom, but I've seen guys get really upset. I've seen all kinds of stuff, and it's like, it's not life or death, that's for sure.
I know, I've seen some pretty wild stuff afterwards when people are not happy with the way it goes. And it's like, come on, man, that's not what you want to be remembered for. Just take it and just walk away knowing that you did your best.
Yeah, I actually was taping somebody, and they came off stage and they went on a whole rant about the judges and everything. And I didn't include it in the episode because I thought, well, they could have been in the heat of the moment, and if they ever want to get up in front of those judges again, it probably wouldn't be the best thing to have this out there. So, yeah. And, so one fun kind of fact about us is I think, it was the first time we met. We were at the Olympia, and so I was part of the production crew with Generation Iron, and then they had these production passes. So we wanted to get Ashley in to go to the Olympia, but the production passes that they gave us had totally different people on it. So I had like, I actually have them here, but mine looked like McLovin, in which I didn't look like him at all. And then I remember we had like an Asian girl, and we were like, okay, well, Ashley, you might kind of pass as an Asian girl, like if somebody's looking at this far away. So we had this pass, but it was pretty funny because it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that was so much fun. I never laughed so hard all my life. It's like, I guess. Oh man.
Well, talk about like an experience of this of that weekend, because I'm gonna grab that as you're talking. So hold on. just talk about that weekend.
That weekend was so awesome. We had such a great group of people working that booth, and like even the camera crew we were working with was awesome, and we got to meet so many awesome people. I got to interview Jim Stepani, who we absolutely admire and love. So that was like super big highlight of my weekend. And then getting to go into the actual Olympia, and then I was interviewing on the red carpet too for a little bit, not long at all, but just a couple people, and that was phenomenal. That was so much fun. And that whole weekend, it was nonstop, go, just a good time. One of the best Olympia weekends, probably that was the best Olympia weekend and the best expo weekend I've ever been to. It was so awesome. Like, how awesome were all the people we worked with at that booth? It was nonstop fun.
It was nonstop fun, and all of them have gone off and done different things. Like Janaea, who I don't know if you remember, she was there. She turned pro, in physique, and I don't know if she is now, but she ended up with Rich Piana's 5%, and I mean, we met Ronnie Coleman backstage. We were just like, and like I did you go backstage as well? Or?
Yeah, remember we were back there when they were all coming off stage and stuff, and I was just like, oh, this is crazy.
Well, I couldn't find the Asian girl. I don't know who has that pass. Maybe you have it or somebody else has that pass. But
no idea.
But I found the one that I had to use. So this is a official production pass for the Olympia. I don't know if people could see that. But this in no way looks like me, I don't think.
I know. That's what everybody's looked like. Everybody's was so odd. Oh, man.
And if you can't tell, this is a bearded guy with like glasses that's, on the slimmer side. I apologize if you are this guy out there. I'm not insulting you. You just don't look like me, other than the dark hair. But
oh, man, that was so much fun.
It was definitely a blast. And so what's like your future plans now?
I've been asked that a lot lately. So we're wrapping up hunting season for the most part in the next month and a half or so. So then after that, I like take a week, decompress, and then figure out, okay, do I want to do a spring show again? I've thrown around the idea of doing a spring show and then hopefully placing and going back to nationals. But nationals always seem to fall, the shows I pick are right in the smack middle of the summer. So it kind of depends. Like, it just depends. If there's another challenge out there that I want to do, I got to switch my training, and that doesn't always coincide with training for bikini competition. So if there's something else and I'm like, I've not tried that before, I might try that instead, then that'll take, that could take priority instead. Just something different. Keep it always mixing it up is fun. So we'll see. We talked about doing another train to hunt again. So if I get the will to want to make myself throw up or pass out.
So the time we did that one, we could have competed as couples and like probably won that day.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to compete with me, and I didn't want to compete with her.
That's
really.
the competition.
We wanted to do like the open, because the open was going to be harder. Because there was only like 4 or 5 couples in there.
Yeah.
And most of them weren't very experienced, so we figured we could have won. But so we actually talked about maybe trying to do that and then going to nationals and doing the couples one too. So
yeah, so we might try that this year too. Just kind of depends what we feel like and how you want to train.
Might be fun. I mean, it might be easy for you at like the local level, but then at the national level, it's probably difficult.
But national would be really hard.
National is hard. They have it, the elevation alone. Like the last 2 years, it's been in Colorado and in Utah, and it's been at high elevation. So that alone we live at 5,000 feet, but if they're competing at 7 plus, we'd have some serious training to do.
And I'm sure there are like hunting couples who are in good shape, but I can't imagine like percentage-wise there's a huge amount of that. Am I wrong? I mean, like it's got to be somewhat rare to have 2 really athletic people that both enjoy hunting and can cooperate and all that sort of thing.
Well, the thing is
couples,
that you don't necessarily have to hunt to do these competitions. So like the girl that won her deal just likes to shoot bow, and I don't think she hunts very much. I might be speaking wrong, but I'm pretty sure she doesn't hunt very much. But she was like a national cross country runner and like just a really good athlete. Runner. And we looked her up, and she'd won all these races and stuff, and so I think she just liked to shoot. And so not everybody's a hunter that competes. And
she's a marathon runner. It was something different for her to do as well. So
it's run by a pretty well-known CrossFit guy out west, and then he kind of got a lot of the CrossFitters involved too. So I think he probably pulled some of them across to compete too. So you're dealing with some pretty good athletes.
Yeah. So it only takes a couple of them, because there was one, because you can be as a couple too. You can be like brother and sister 2, whatever. Just it's one male, one female.
Yeah, it didn't have. Sorry, I said couples, but it just had to be one male, one female, so anybody could join up for the couples one.
So you can get some pretty dynamic duos there.
Well, you know, I think whatever you do, you'll be successful at, if not from winning, in terms of certainly like doing the experience and enjoying it. And, you know, I love that you guys, you know, live life to its fullest. And when I compare that to, you know, there's a lot of people out there that they're just afraid to take any chances within their life. And, man, that I've got to think that's no way to live, you know, at the end of life. I mean, I don't think you guys are going to look back and be like, you know, we should have, well, Jesse, you might think, well, we should have done more hunting trips, but but I think it's fair to say you've done almost everything that you can do within your capabilities. So we've had, I mean, time has just flown on this, so I'm going to wrap it up, but I want to give you a chance to promote anything. Like if there's, if you have any sponsors, or if you're offering any services or anything like that, your social media, you know, put it out there, and I'll include the links below as well.
Yeah, for sure. You can definitely follow all our adventures. We both have an IG page. We still are doing some filming for Wildlife Pursuit as of right now in the hunting industry. We love all our outdoor sponsors. Like, we shoot elite archery bows. Everybody's probably gonna ask. Everybody likes to know what equipment you use. We shoot elite bows. We wear King's camo. I mean, there's tons of other little stuff we can include. We work a lot with Shields All Sports. We couldn't do half of what we do without them. Their support has been phenomenal. So we love them. Anybody else you want to include? Tainted, obviously. Wade, we love you, buddy. We like Tainted. Anybody else you want to include?
We covered it.
That's the majority, but there's other ones too. But just follow us. And see, we like to post about what we use too. We like to inform people, you know, about everything we like to do and use, and feel free to shoot questions our way. So
that's awesome. I think it's a great thing, and you know, congratulations on being a successful couple and like having a life where, you know, you're both doing what you enjoy and you're doing it together. I think that's a beautiful thing, and I wish more people could get to experience that, you know, that kind of a life. So, and thank you for believing in me and you know, saying that this is the type of thing that you've thought I should have been doing for a long time. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're good at it, man, and we appreciate you having us and interviewing us and stuff like that. So
this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
And it was good catching up again too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great to see what's happened since, and I'm gonna post your episode below as well, so that people can click on that, and if they missed it the first time, they can catch it again. And you know, you there's a really good genuine moment in that where you get emotional and you're talking about Jesse and your family, and you know, everybody being there, and I love seeing that. So
right, because I just don't think you can do anything without a good support system. Like, truly give it your all without a support system, and that's so important to me.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because there's been times I haven't had that. There's been, I'm not trying to cry or anything about it, but you know, I actually did a national competition, and I didn't have anybody in my corner for that. Like, I wasn't involved with anybody, and then my trainer couldn't make it, and like I felt really sad about it, because I went on stage and everybody else was having people cheer for them and stuff like that.
Right.
And I didn't have anybody there for me, and like that was like that was sad for me, because I was like, wow, I accomplished this, I made it to a national stage, and you know, Yeah, it might have even like, well, no, I shouldn't say that. Like, everybody that beat me was really awesome, but it could have affected, you know, my mentality on stage even and stuff like that. So, you know, having people that support you is a big thing in life and definitely underappreciated. So.
Yeah, just like that Fargo show, having my family there, like to have people travel there and be there for you, it's exactly what you said. It was a sold out show. So the fact that they made it a priority to get tickets to be there for that moment, that's huge. That's so big. That's bigger than anyone will ever realize, because when you travel to compete too, it's hard to get family and friends, because a lot of people ask why Jesse never comes with me, and it's hard. It's with work and, you know what I mean, and cost, additional cost to have him come and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's support is huge to get through anything. So.
Well, I think that's a good way to end things. I really appreciate our time together, and thanks for filling me in on hunting and all those aspects, because I haven't had a chance to do it. I'd love to do it sometime. It sounds like it's fun and crazy and difficult, although I have a feeling that I'd sleep for a week afterwards.
We could take you on a nice, easy one to get you broke.
Yeah. Break you. We'll leave the extreme stuff after we break you in a little bit.
I think even a nice, easy one would probably be like painful, because, like, you know, the reality is, like, even if you're in shape in certain ways, anything you do that's different, like if you go and you do jujitsu, even if like you have like good running, it's like a totally different type of muscles and everything you're using. So anytime you do something different like that, I'm sure like walking up and down hills, all that stuff, like it's got to be like super draining. So I'm sure I'd be sore and exhausted and all that. But you know, it's something I want to experience. I think it's especially like, you know, capturing my own food and then like eating it and stuff like that'd be a lot of fun, I think. You know,
yeah,
a rewarding experience. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on the show.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
James.
Till next time.
All right, take care, guys.
Yeah, you too.